And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Wherever you happen to be in the world today, welcome one and all, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, to Coffee Talk. That is right, it is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having a discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some articles from the news and have a bit of dialogue. In the live portion, which takes place on YouTube at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. That's where you can find it if you're listening somewhere else. And that is on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. So at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University, broadcasting Monday through Friday. You can also find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Coffee Talk Chat, and fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. And of course, I do try to read through the comments, as many as I can, reasonably, for the benefit of those of you who are listening and not able to see. So I'll go ahead and acknowledge some people so far. Here's Helter. There's Dragon. There's Michael from Georgia. And Brian is here, chiming in and saying hello. Daniel joining me in the background. You can see him sitting in the chair, for those of you who can see, one of the rescue cats hanging out with me in the office today, keeping me company as we get ready to dive into what is going on in the world today. And that's life, but not as we know it is here. Glad you could make it today. And he says, good evening. Good evening. As we get ready to jump off. And I wanted to start with something a little odd. And this is something that was brought up yesterday. I had seen the article on it, but I didn't get into it too much. But I'm going to go ahead and pull the article open here, and it has to do with North Korea. Really, really weird stuff that they're doing recently. And I see that D'Lo is here, as well as Kimberly popping in. This is again about North Korea and their odd activities over the last or past week. Newsweek article, North Korea launches swarm of sewage balloons. That's right, sewage balloons. And D'Lo says they've been under the weather. Well, hopefully you'll be feeling better. Hopefully you'll be feeling better. So yes, North Korea getting back at South Korea with balloon technology. And it is, actually. Wait till you hear this. South Korea's military briefly issued an air raid warning late on Tuesday after it detected suspected North Korean propaganda balloons carrying waste and excrement across the border. Residents in the provinces of Gyeonggi and Gangwon, both located on the heavily fortified Korean demilitarized zone, were told to refrain from going outdoors and to report any unidentified objects to South Korean military and police authorities. And they're not kidding. Look where this town is, and look at the border. And the big sign that you can't miss that says, stay the hell out of here. Do not cross. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. They will shoot you if you cross the border here. So here we go. Oh, did something? Oh, here we go. It was acting funny for a second. It says, by Wednesday morning, South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said that at least 150 balloons carrying anti-South leaflets had crossed their border. Authorities continued to discover balloons carrying plastic bags landing across the country throughout the day. The South Korean military sent bomb disposal and chemical response units to inspect the objects, which social media pictures showed carried various types of trash, including old disassembled electronic components and used batteries. Witnesses told local media that some of the bags, apart from containing pro-North Korea propaganda, produced an odorous smell and likely contained animal feces. South Korean authorities were conducting a major cleanup operation. Its Joint Chiefs of Staff called the North's actions low class and dangerous. So basically, yeah, the balloons carried leaflets and bags of raw sewage and excrement, okay, as well as explosives. but the explosives were small impact explosives that were the function of which was to release the bags. So they were timed explosives that were supposed to pop the connection to the bags of waste so that they would drop onto the neighboring communities. That's the function. That's why they had called out the bomb squad to to defuse these. Boy, I tell you what, I see Puck is here as well as Ragnar and Cyberjack. And Helta says what North Korea did technically counts as biological warfare. That's true. That is true. And apparently this is their response. This is their response because South Korea does float balloons over North Korea, dropping leaflets, basically trying to inspire North Koreans to want to be in South Korea. It's propaganda. But North Korea here has taken it a step beyond and sent their pro-North flyers across the border, but also sent bags of feces with explosive timers. Wow. Wow. Brian says, is Kim Jong-un dying of laughter from this? Probably. Probably. Talk about a prank. That is very adolescent-minded. Very adolescent. What are we going to do to South Korea? I know. Let's float bags of poop and blow them up so that it drops on their houses and streets. That's fantastic. Where are we here? Kimberly says a large-scale version of the flaming poop bags on your neighbor's porch. Pretty much. Pretty much that's what it is. Fluke Man is here. Glad you could make it. And Dragon says this was a test run. They want to see cause and effect and the reaction of the locals and possibly a distraction for a future plan. Maybe. Maybe. But as I pointed out, I mean, they float those things all the time, and they're usually full of leaflets that there's some device that opens up and drops them, and it says, wow, it sucks, you're in North Korea. Or North Korea does it, and it says, wow, it sucks that you're in South Korea. Basically, that's what they're doing. But they took it a step beyond here by filling the bags with excrement. That's pretty bold. That's pretty bad. Oh, no. What are you going to do? And how far are you willing to take that? How are you going to take that? And 150 balloons they tracked down. 150 balloons that they had tracked down. And like I said, this was brought up yesterday. So I wanted to find an article on the subject and just touch base on that. I had seen it, but I had not read the full article as of yet. And also, apparently, there was old rotten batteries and stuff in some of these bags, too. I don't know what the point of that is. But, yeah, that's a bit much, North Korea. I mean, seriously. Seriously, again, that's a very adolescent thing to do. That is not something that you would expect a neighboring government to do. I mean, yeah, sure, leaflets full of propaganda. That's old school. I mean, governments have been doing that, God, I don't know how long, over a century, easily, especially during wartime. And Puck says North Korea is unlikely to launch a preemptive attack on the South. No, they don't. They want to pound their chest, but they don't want to get hit. They don't want to get drawn into a full-blown war with anybody. And Fluke Man says North Korea's weapons have gone past its used by date. Past its used by date. But we'll go globetrotting here. And we'll hop across the globe from North Korea, or South Korea as the case may be, and we're going to land smack in the middle of Mexico City. Smack into Mexico, because they're screwed. They're really screwed here. And this is an Associated Press article. A violent, polarized Mexico goes to the polls to choose between 2 women presidential candidates. Yeah, there we are. That'll fix everything. That'll fix everything, won't it? Mexico goes into Sunday's election deeply divided. Friends and relatives no longer talk politics for fear of worsening unbridgeable divides, while drug cartels have split the country into a patchwork quilt of warring fiefdoms. The atmosphere is literally heating up amid a wave of unusual heat, drought, pollution, and political violence. It's unclear whether Mexico's next president will be able to rein in the underlying violence and polarization, especially with the last 2 running candidates being essentially 2 diversity hires. We'll see how well that goes, because I seriously have to question, are either of these women A, qualified to do the job, or B, willing to do it? Because you can have somebody who's not qualified in politics, but damn, they'll do the best. They'll do their best and they'll do the job. Are these women going to do it, or are they diversity hires? They could end up burying Mexico, either one of them. Soledad Ishagoyen, a Mexico City doctor who supports President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador's Morena party, says she can no longer talk about politics with her colleagues. Why would you? Why would you see? I mean, I'm sitting here, I talk politics here with the people who choose to listen to it in an online podcast format. But, talking politics with people I actually know, why the hell would I bother? I don't really care what they think, and they don't care what I think. So let me see. It says opposition presidential candidate. Oh my God, Xochitl Galvez, I think that's how you pronounce it, has focused her ire on Lopez Obrador's hugs, not bullets policy of not confronting drug cartels. She faces former Mexico City Mayor Claudia Sheinbaum, who is running for Lopez Obrador's Morena party. Sheinbaum, who leads in the race, has promised to continue all of Lopez Obrador's policies. Do they have to spell the whole name? Lopez Obrador himself likes to depict every issue as a struggle between the forces of the good people and shadowy conservative conspiracies, and he has done a lot to stoke the flames of division and anger, kind of like Biden. More than an election, this is a referendum to choose the kind of country we want, Obrador said recently, and it really is a referendum on him. He, much like Donald Trump in the United States, is the central figure in the campaign. In Mexico, just across the globe, forces of angry, charismatic populism are fighting it out with an income-polarized liberal democracy. Issues of national identity, the influence of foreigners, and economic exclusion have divided the country into warring camps. So is Obrador still running? Because it makes it sound like it's just these two women who are running. So is Obrador running or not? And, again, are either of these women actually going to do the job? Because that's the big question. You're going to have to be pretty ruthless and brutal to get things reined in Mexico at this point. Excuse me. As I catch up a couple of more here. Puck says another humiliation for Hillary Clinton. Is it? And Monkey says, yeah, those Mexican candidates are going to bend the knee to the cartel either way in the end. You're going to have to be willing to turn the country into a total bloodbath to put an end to that. And it was mentioned yesterday, but for different reasons. It makes me think of the opium wars between China and Great Britain. China was not able to win those confrontations. Great Britain crushed China. And China realized that the only way that they were going to put an end to the opium trade was to do it internally. We can't make the British government stop bringing drugs into the country, so we'll stop the country from using drugs. And they basically started executing anyone who was using opium. Period. No trial, nothing. Just if you're using opium, you die. And sooner or later, after they got through, I don't know, 20% of their population, people got the message and started to back off and started not buying it anymore. So you're going to have to be equally as ruthless dealing with these cartels. You're either going to have to completely destroy them, execute them with extreme prejudice, and anyone who's willing to work with them, or give up and just keep playing government, which is what's been going on in Mexico for far too long. And Puck says it's not fair Mexico gets a woman president and we didn't get Hillary. Oh, yeah? You want Hillary for president? Oh, my God. Bride of Frankenstein for president. New York is here. Glad you could make it. Mulling over what's going on in Mexico because things are not going well for them. And again, I'm not even sure if this guy, if Lopez Obrador is even still running or not. Is he? Because, again, they make it sound like just these two women are running against him, and that's it. As is polarized in the title, it says Mexico goes to the polls to choose between two women presidential candidates. So we'll see how that works out for them. We'll see how that works out for them. Either way, it's going to be a mess. Even if they do manage to restore their country, it'll be a mess. Fluke Man says Mexico has a lot to learn from Nayib Bukele, president of El Salvador. And Monkey says Bukele is a great modern example of what countries should do with gangs and cartels. You're either going to fight them or you're not. You're going to fight them or you're not. And that's what it boils down to. That's what it boils down to. Oh, wanted to share this really quickly. This is the video that I put up yesterday. I'll go ahead and I'll share that with you real quick. Talking about the Flintstones and the Masons, because there's been implications lately that the Flintstones was promoting Freemasonry to children. And those photographs or those images in that particular meme with the Water Buffalo Lodge that was mentioned in the Flintstones did not have any Masonic symbolism. Those images have been doctored. And I went into detail about the history of the time period and talking about that in that video. I don't know if anyone saw that. I just wanted to mention it because the circulation is terrible, of course, because ScrewTube hates this channel. And I think as of the last time I checked, within the last 24 hours, it literally had 77 views because, yeah, ScrewTube doesn't like me. But it's interesting, and it's sad to see this getting kicked around by people in social media, pretending like there's a Masonic collection or Masonic connection within the Flintstones. It's really kind of stupid, actually. But I just wanted to share that in case anybody wanted to check that video out, in case anybody was interested in seeing that. And then we'll shift gears. Since we brought up presidents, we may as well talk about our own here in a moment. And I see that how's that transition going? Here we go. Restream is acting a little wonky. Michael says most countries in Central and South America only permit one term for president, generally 5 to 6 years. I see. I'm not sure if there's anything specific with Mexico. And James says, I read where we got over millions of immigrants here now. I hear New York and Mass states are overloaded and that immigrants are living in New York subways. It wouldn't surprise me if they're in the subways. I don't know if that's true or not. Yeah, we are overloaded. We went from, and I've talked about it several times on the channel, during the Trump administration, we had roughly 800 encounters at the border daily, about 800 or so a day. And on the first day in office, when Biden was signing all of those executive orders. One of them was to tie the hands of Border Patrol to prevent them from repatriating anyone. And when that happened, we went from 800 a day to roughly 8,000. So yeah, millions of people, and that's just the encounters that are documented, not the ones that slip through. And they're also coming across the northern border. So I mean, there's probably like an extra 12, 15 million people have crossed over the border, and it's not sustainable. We can't afford it. Brian says, remember when VeggieTales was accused of being a racist cartoon? I don't know if I remember that. But yeah, I mean, they're vegetables. I know what VeggieTales are. And the survival buzz is here. Thanks for joining us today. And Puck wants mass deportations beginning in January 20th, 2025. It can be done. They can find these people if they want to. They know where most of them are. It wouldn't be that complicated as long as you got through the legal aspects of it. Because there are entities within the U.S. that are going to fight tooth and nail every step of the way. But it can be done. It's not logistically impossible to round them up and start repatriating them back wherever the hell they came from. And it would be cheaper. That's always been my argument. It would be a lot cheaper to send them back than to feed them, clothe them, house them, put their kids in school, pay for their medical, everything that we do for these people. And they complain about it. Some of you might recall the article that I had read, where in Colorado they're actually giving the governor and the mayor's office in where was it? They're giving the mayors and the governors there in Colorado ultimatums of what they want for their cooperation. And I'm like, how can you give a list of demands and you're an illegal alien? How can you do that? Monkey says, in the last 4 years, people don't realize this will keep going with the current patient in chief, then I wouldn't be surprised anymore. Yeah, and are we going to be able to get rid of this guy? Is he really going to go away? Or is the chief puppet going to still remain in office? But again, speaking of which, he's our next subject from a couple of things that he said just recently. And this is a Meow article. Biden trolled after he reiterates debunked claim that he was involved deeply in the civil rights movement. Oh, he's a civil rights pioneer. We're back to that again. Civil rights pioneer Joe Biden. You didn't know? And this took place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Boulder, Colorado. I think that's was it Boulder, Colorado? That I don't think it was Boulder. They gave the mayor there a list of demands. And it was stuff that was insane, like no law enforcement presence in shelters and unlimited access to showers with no limit on length of shower time and crazy stuff like that they were talking about. But here we go. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. President Joe Biden found himself at the center of controversy Wednesday after making claims about his involvement in the civil rights movement during a campaign event aimed at courting black voters in battleground Pennsylvania. Despite having previously acknowledged he was not actively involved in the movement, Biden reiterated his supposed activism from decades past. And that's important to note, is that he's made these claims before, retracted them, debunking his own claims, as it were, and now he's making the claims again. Quote, I got involved as a kid in the civil rights movement. Biden, 81, stated to a group of black officials and local residents at a Philadelphia restaurant and jazz bar. He repeated the assertion later in his talk, specifying 1969 as the start of his activism. Like I said, in 1969, I got involved deeply in the civil rights movement. And those of you who are Pennsylvanians know that Delaware used to be a slave state, and that southern state and a southern state, and it's that attitudes. I mean, for real, he added. What's for real? That's a broken sentence. Delaware, indeed a former slave state, never seceded to join the Confederacy, a nuance that complicates Biden's narrative about the state's historical content. That's a good or context. That's a good point. At another point during his remarks, Biden claimed, I know a lot about historically black colleges and universities because Delaware's state HBCU was the place I got organized and started. Really? This statement echoes previous assertions Biden has made about his connections to the civil rights movement, including a claim to radio host Howard Stern last month that he got arrested standing on the porch with a black family during civil rights protests, a claim for which there is no existing evidence. So, yeah, he just hung out on black people's porches back in the day and got arrested. Oh my God. I love it. Jane says he heard the Pope said no homosexuals can be accepted in the Catholic Church. He said the F word, which hurt the Alphabet Mafia's group. He did apologize later, I heard. Yeah, he said something to that. I didn't read the whole article, but he did say something to that effect, and then he walked it back later. Dragon says this is the same guy that said he didn't want his children in a racial jungle during his fight against desegregation of schools. And Puck says Joe almost replaced Roger Staubach as starting quarterback in the Naval Academy. I heard that one too. Was he even in the Naval Academy? Helter says Joe was also the grand poobah of the Triple K at one time. Biden's a legend in his own mind. Yeah, this is insane. This is crazy stuff here. I mean, yeah, he got arrested. He was in a historically black college, apparently, where he got involved in activism in 1969 and was arrested hanging around on black people's porches. That must be when he was going to Southern Baptist churches and synagogues at the same time. That's what he was doing. Oh, and there's all people. He says, tell Biden the most of the blacks in America are not slave descendants, and the majority of their families arrived to the nation after the year 1965. Well, I'm sure he knows that. Getting him to admit it is another problem. But yeah, that goes back to another argument that most black people in the United States are not actually slave descendants. They are not actually slave descendants, something that I've run over several times in discussion. I've done a few independent videos on it as well. Talking about the original reparations packages that were done generations ago and so on. But this ties into another article, a Fox News article, because the buck didn't stop there, but the article didn't go deeper into some of the things that he said. Deeper into the things that he had to say. So I wanted to open this article up to tie the two of them together. And again, this is a Fox News article. Biden tells black voters that Trump wanted to tear gas them during peaceful George Floyd protests. I heard that. I heard him say that. And it gets better. It gets better. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The stuff that he said during this speech is insane. He makes claims that make no sense. It makes it sound like he's from another planet. Puck says, according to Joe, when they told him about Staubach coming to the Naval Academy, Biden said no thanks and went to Delaware. Is that what happened? Is that what happened? And Jane says, anyone noticed recently how bears, gators, and orca whales are attacking humans? Is it something in the air? No, it's something more along the lines of humans continuing to further encroach into their territories, I would think. And Cyberjack says he must have been taking pointers from Cohen. And Raccoon has joined us here today. Thank you for joining us, Raccoon. Glad you could make it. I'll put this up from all people, and I'll get into the article real quick. Listen to these claims. So President Joe Biden, while drumming up support from black voters in Philadelphia on Wednesday, said former President Trump wanted to tear gas those who peacefully protested Floyd's murder in 2020. Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris appeared at Girard College, a predominantly black boarding school in Philadelphia, thanking black voters for helping to cinch the presidential victory in November 2020. Yeah, 81 million votes, folks. 81 million votes. During his speech, the president focused on items that his administration worked on to better the lives of black voters, including the elimination. Are you sitting down? The elimination of lead pipes for safer drinking water, the removal of pollution near fence line communities, affordable high-speed internet, and the protection of the Affordable Health Care Act. A promise made and a promise kept, quoted Biden. Quote, let me ask you, what do you think? Trump would have done this on January 6th if black Americans had stormed the Capitol, Biden asked. I don't think he'd be talking about pardons. This is the same guy who wanted to tear gas you as you peacefully protested George Floyd's murder. And here's a photograph of one of those peaceful protests, for those of you who can see. And it is a rioting crowd circling a burning car. They were far from peaceful protests, okay? A handful of them were. Most of them were pretty violent, all right? They were not peaceful protests, not by a long shot, all right? So, and I want to get back into some of these other claims here really quickly. I mean, he literally sat there and took credit for getting rid of lead pipes, okay? Back to this, I'm going to walk it back to the second paragraph. That his administration worked on bettering the lives of black voters by the elimination of lead pipes for safer drinking water, the removal of pollution near fence line communities, and affordable high-speed internet. Okay, where can I even start with this statement? He created affordable high-speed internet. So cable and cell phone companies aren't naturally competing with each other for faster or less expensive connections so that they can get more customers. Biden did that. Biden is responsible for affordable high-speed internet. Okay. Protecting the Affordable Health Care Act. They have no choice but to cling to that mess, that debacle. The so-called Obamacare Act is a disaster. It doesn't work, and they cling to it because, like most things in government, they dig their claws into something that they know is a failure because they don't want to admit that it's a failure. He says that it's peaceful protests. Peacefully protested George Floyd's murder. Let's unpack this. I think by now most people are aware that that man was not murdered. Keeping in mind that it took, 2 years, I believe it was, almost 3 years for the official autopsy report to even be released. And what did it say? Because we read the autopsy in a former podcast when it came out. The man was not murdered. Hell, he killed himself. And those were hardly, again, peaceful protests. But my favorite one here, I'm going to get onto this here in a second, because I know that we're falling way behind. We're falling way behind here. Puck says lead pipes. How about lead bullets in a blue city? Those are more dangerous. But yeah, lead pipes. I want to. This is one I know a little something about this. Okay, so where is it? Where is it? Again, second paragraph. The elimination of lead pipes for safer drinking water. Lead pipes were outlawed Please look this up and tell me if I'm wrong, okay? I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about on this one. Lead pipes were outlawed in the United States in 1986. 1986. So President Joe Biden went back in time and issued an executive order in 1986 to get rid of lead pipes to save black people from contaminated water. Thank you, Biden. Thank you for that. I mean, this guy is so full of shit. I don't even know where to start. I'm so sorry. It's insulting. It's insulting. And Cyberjack says cherry-picked facts are the only rhetoric lefties know. And Chillin' Dave has joined us. I hope you didn't miss that last part, Chillin', because it's so insane. Again, and please look this up. Let me see. When did they stop using lead pipes? I'm going to fact check myself here. Lead pipes. Here we go. Let me pull this up. I'm going to separate this article real quick so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. All right. This is the stupidest shit. The man is embarrassing, and I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start with this anymore. I don't even know where to start with this anymore because the stuff that this guy says and does, it doesn't make any sense. Here it comes. 1986. Oh no. It says by the 1930s, or I'll read this for you. By the 1930s, copper supplanted lead as the preferred piping material thanks to its longevity, durability, and safety. But however, it took 50 years before lead piping would be officially banned in 1986. So again, and I wasn't sure about the copper, but there it is. In the 1930s, they knew lead was dangerous, and they started using copper. In 1986, they officially made it illegal. And as you are well aware, I'm sure, anytime there's any kind of plumbing job done, any kind of street repair, any kind of home repair, a home build, office repair, whatever it is, if they discover lead pipes, they're disposed of. They're removed and disposed of. And if any lead pipes that are discovered in the ground are usually long since defunct, they're from an abandoned line, and they find them and they just remove them because you can't imagine that pipes left over from before the 1930s are still in use. It doesn't work that way. Pipes have to be regularly replaced. Yeah, especially high pressure pipes that are out in the streets are replaced often, okay? Because they burst. They'll burst if they're not. There's no lead pipes left. There are abandoned lines that are still under the ground at certain places. I know Illinois still has a lot of trouble with that. They dig up old lines and they find an abandoned pipeline that's lead. That still happens. I think Florida has that problem sometimes. He did not ban, from this perspective, actually, it was officially banned in 1986, but they stopped using lead in the 1930s. So I guess he traveled back in time to the 1930s to get rid of lead pipes to save black people from contaminated water. Is that what happened? Is that what happened? Monkey looked it up. He says even the EPA says 1986. Thank you. Raccoon says, why is he trying so hard to get the black vote? No one remembers when he said he didn't want his kids going to school with black kids. No, they don't remember that. Oh, no. This is insane. And All People wants us to know that there's a 1930s film called Imitation of Life, covers the idiocy of the now outlawed per 1967 SCOTUS one-drop rule and high-toned colleges now misnomered as historically black. Cyberjack says, thankfully, FJB has fixed all of our problems. I know, he saved our lives. Oh, excuse me, he saved black people. He didn't do anything for me because I sure can't get cheap, high-speed internet. The internet is the most expensive utility I pay, period. I think it costs twice as much. I think it costs almost twice as much as the next highest utility. It's terrible, and it doesn't work very well either. Chillin says can't even solder with lead solder Silver Bright now. Yeah, that's right. They don't want you using the stuff. He said I've seen ancient lead traps, huge ones with 4 pipes going into it. Yeah, but they're not in use, right? They're just abandoned lines, and when they dig them up and find them, they remove them. Sven says the people that vote for Biden of 8 pounds of stupid in a 5-pound bag. That, like I said, I don't even know where to start because that is insane. He is taking credit. He is taking credit for getting rid of lead pipes. He is taking credit for high-speed internet. But he did it. He did it for dark-skinned people. He saved your lives. Crawl on the ground and worship him. Why don't you? Crawl on the ground and worship him. Grovel at his feet and thank him. Cry on his bare feet. Wash them with your tears and dry them with your hair. Because he is the new Messiah. He is the new Messiah. Booger says, so the press is having a Peabody and Sherman moment. Yes, that's what it is. Or Biden is. Is he Peabody or is he Sherman? He must be Sherman because there's got to be a puppet master. And for those of you who don't get the reference, Peabody and Sherman is from the old Rocky and Bullwinkle show. And he had a time machine. And him and Sherman, his pet boy, because Peabody was a dog, would take his pet boy, he was an adopted orphan, back in time to introduce him to famous people, but the famous people would be complete nitwits, and he would fix whatever they were trying to do to make it historically accurate. Oh my God. Sven says him and Al Gore saved the black race. I know. And they should be grateful. They should be grateful. Monkey says, oh, and if you don't vote for me, you ain't black is an A-OK statement if Biden says it. But imagine if Trump ever said it. Yeah, I could imagine if Trump ever said anything like that at all. He would be ripped to pieces in the media. They would crucify him for that. They would crucify him for that. But not Biden. Oh, he's your Lord and Savior. It's incredible, the stuff that he comes up with. And even the article doesn't really call him out. Doesn't call him out on the lead pipes. I don't think they did. I don't think they called him out for the peaceful protest remark. They called him out for the peaceful protest remark, but they completely missed the high-speed internet and lead pipe bit, which, and maybe I missed it somewhere in the paragraphs when I skimmed through. Puck says, and the children would come up and rub the hair on my legs and watch it stand up. Watch what stand up, Joe? What were you watching? Cyberjack Sr. says, like the show Voyagers. Hang on, Cyberjack. Hang on, Cyberjack. Like this? Voyagers with the adopted kid. Live action Sherman and Peabody. Didn't think I had that, did you? Now people are going to think the show's rigged. No, but I mean, I have my wife and I watch a lot of vintage programming, so we have like thousands of DVDs and TV shows like this. And we watch the vintage shows on DVD instead of watching traditional like television. We don't really watch TV. Let me turn it here real quick. You can see right there. Those are all vintage television shows. You see the Dukes of Hazzard up there, and Space 1999, and Monty Python, and Taxi, and all kinds of stuff like that. And then over there, you got some animated stuff. You see the whole Dragon Ball Z collection there, Futurama, some other things, and I've got more over here. And there's several DVD shelves in the living room as well. So I just happen to know exactly where it was when you said that. Kimberly says that Al Gore invented the internet. He claimed that. He made that claim. He made that claim that he invented the modern internet, the World Wide Web. He had nothing to do with it. He had nothing to do with it. He got called on that pretty hard, actually, and got away with it. He got away with it. But that was, I mean, I could go on and on and on about that. Like I said, I just happen to know, and I've got weird, I have weird trivia, if you will. I just kind of know things sometimes like that. And I knew that lead pipes were technically outlawed in 1986. And I don't know how long it was since they stopped using them, but I know it was made illegal in 86, which was kind of late to the game since they stopped using them technically in the 1930s. And Raccoon wants to know if I ever watched Hello from the BBC. I've seen it, but I don't have it on disc. I don't have it on disc. And Brian says that's a big collection. Nice. Well, thanks. But like I said, we can't stand modern television. So we watch vintage shows like that. And we don't binge at all. We have our selection Monday through Friday, 2 shows a day from 2 episodes from 2 different shows each day. We break it up like that. Like Monday right now, we're doing British comedy, and we have Keeping Up Appearances, and then The Prisoner, 1 episode like that. And then Tuesday, we've got Buck Rogers with Gil Gerard, and the original Linda Carter Wonder Woman, 1 episode. Linda Carter and Wonder Woman is hilarious. That show is freaking funny because they try so hard to be serious and they can't. Oh, hey, little girl. Hi, darling. Where'd you come from? Little girl here peeking from behind the curtains. Yeah, we got totally sidetracked from the news here, but that's okay. It's just conversation after all. It's just conversation after all. The Dukes of Hazzard that I pointed out there, what was that? 7 seasons. It took us 2 years to get through it, 1 episode at a time, like that. But that's the best way to do it, the way it was originally designed. If you binge watch it, you miss things. You miss things easily. Puck says he's been watching Leave It to Beaver. Great show. Yeah, it's funny stuff. She's still peeking. You can see her. For those of you who are you done, honey? She's going to curl up and take a nap there. That's fine. And Unknown says they've been catching up on the Rockford Files. Last night we watched Necessary Roughness. I remember that show, operating out of his trailer. And Zane is here. Says he just got the notification. Golly. And H12 making fun of Biden. He says, gee, your hair smells terrific. Cream and rinse. There you are. But with that, Kimberly says, no Star Trek, the original series. My dad is the reason I'm a Trekkie. Yeah, it's back there. You didn't see it? See the 3 boxes that look like a yellow, a blue, and a red tricorder? Those are the original DVD releases that come in the tricorder box. That's the original series right there in the middle of the shelf. So yeah, Star Trek, the original series. As we're going to jump from Joe Biden to another shameless, pathetic politician. And we can carry on the rest of the other conversation if you like, but I did want to get to this. It's another Meow article talking about the governor. Is it the governor of, or the mayor? I'm sorry, the mayor of Boston. Boy, I'm glad I don't live in Massachusetts anymore. She does not care about law and order. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu faces backlash as she claims thieves should not be prosecuted. That's right. Ultra liberal mayor of Boston, one of the biggest hubs in the United States, city-wise, thinks that people should get a pass on going to jail. And it goes beyond just thieves. The stuff that she said is nuts. Michelle Wu facing the internet's wrath after reportedly pushing for some offenses not to be prosecuted at all. The Boston mayor has advocated for not prosecuting people charged with shoplifting or disorderly conduct. She also reportedly argued that minors in possession of alcohol and drugs, including possession with intent to distribute, non-marijuana drug possession, driving with suspended licenses, breaking and entering of property, and wanton and malicious destruction of property should not be taken seriously from a legal perspective. Oh, so I can go to Boston and just tear the hell up. All right. It has been said that Wu agrees with a do not prosecute list that was made by Suffolk County's ex-district attorney Rachel Rollins. Notice again how these are all females who come up with this stuff. Before joining the mayor's office in November 2021, the 39-year-old politician submitted the 2021 Boston mayoral candidate questionnaire from Progressive Massachusetts. Below the question, do you support the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office do not prosecute list and expand approach to deal with such low-level offenses, yes or no? And she replied yes. She was questioned if she supports shuttering the Boston Police Gang database, and her answer is yes. Do you believe the affiliation or sympathies with white supremacist organizations among officers is a problem in the Boston Police Department? Yes or no? If so, what measure would you take as mayor to combat that issue? Her response is yes, and that I have advocated for terminating Boston Police Department employees who were involved with the January 6th Capitol insurrection. She adds, we must ensure that contract language enables the sharing of data with the public on officers' use of force and misconduct and allows disciplinary records to be made publicly accessible in accordance with privacy laws. You can't make something public and adhere to privacy laws at the same time, Mayor Wu. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I wouldn't want to be a law enforcement officer in Boston if my hands are going to be completely tied like this. Anything that I do is going to be considered to be racist or aggressive use of force. And she doesn't think that anybody should be arrested on any kind of drug charge, including intent to distribute. She doesn't think people should get in trouble for driving with a suspended license, breaking and entering into people's homes or businesses, or destruction of property should not be taken legally seriously, it says. That's incredible. Who voted for this woman? Who voted for this woman? Zane says they're personally of the opinion that all street gangs should be classified as domestic terrorist organizations. And Liquid Imagination is here. Clever moniker there, Liquid Imagination. It sounds like a band from the 60s, like a psych pop band. Cyberjack Sr. says someone stole all of her clues, common sense, and morals. No, she sold them, Cyberjack. She sold them. Monkey said Michelle Wu bringing her East Asian customs to the U.S. Remember that diversity is their strength. Yeah, that's very East Asian. They're real strict over there. I don't know what goes on when they get to this country. Helder says it's possible that she's saying this so that she can pass on confidential information to the CCP without being caught or punished. That's possible. That is possible. Sven says if the officer is black or white, it will be seen as white supremacy. On paper, I'm sure. And Dragon says, I'm sure she's got armed guards to prevent anyone from robbing her gated house. Oh, she's very safe. She's very, very safe. Zane says if any children join a street gang, they should be charged as adults for any crimes they commit, and every other member of said gang should also be charged for the same crime. Well, young people used to be used quite a bit in gang warfare because very often the way that the laws worked, especially in California, this was a big thing in the 70s and 80s. I don't know about now, but in the 70s and 80s, that they would use a juvenile in a drive-by or something like that because they knew that worst case scenario, they would be in juvie until they turned 18. Unknown says she's an agent of hostile foreign entities searching for insurrectionists. Robert Ludlum must be shaking his fist at Earth right now. Zane says it still happens now. That figures. Again, talking about young people in gangs, using them for that purpose. But there she is. She doesn't think people should go to jail for anything. Evidently, she wants to give everybody a pass. Break into someone's house, no problem. Destroy someone's property, no problem. No, either drive without a license, no problem. Or a suspended license. I wonder if it matters what your license is suspended for. Does that make a difference? Does that matter to Mrs. Wu there? Does she care? Does she care what they're suspended for? Oh, look at her. She looks so innocent, though. She looks so innocent, though. She's just trying to help. She's trying to help black people. She said so. Because she thinks that the Boston Police Department's racist for doing their job. Not that they can't be heavy-handed, and not that I trust law enforcement as far as I can throw it, but sometimes they're just doing the job. Sometimes they're just doing the job. I guess, possession of narcotics or sale of narcotics, that's okay. That's okay. You get a slap on the wrist and go your ass home. Go your ass home. It'll be all right. We got your back. Vote for me. Vote for me. That's what Puck says. Vote blue no matter who. Exactly. That should be on a t-shirt. Bakari says law enforcement has been the biggest gang in America. And Flukeman says, what if they illegalize bodyguards in private security firms? Now let's see how she reacts when people try to break into her house. If anyone does, if they can get that far, if they can get that close, if they can get that lucky as to be able to actually reach the governor's mansion. Remember the purge. The lawmakers are exempt. Lawmakers are exempt from the purge. They don't have to. They don't have to participate. They don't have to deal with that. They don't have to be victims of that. And I'm sure she feels the same way. It's not me. Rules for thee, not for me. Rules for thee, not for me. That's how it works. And Monkey says, I've seen car stickers say vote for blue no matter who. Okay. Chris wants to know if Trump will be found guilty. I don't know. I mean, he technically he shouldn't. I've mentioned it several times. He's not. It's unprecedented. No one's ever been brought to court for this. The only time anybody's ever been brought to court for a non-disclosure agreement is for violating that non-disclosure agreement, which is what Stormy Daniels did, not Trump. Bringing him to court is pointless. And if they bring him to court, they need to bring Clinton to court because he's done the same thing. He's paid hush money like this before. So he should not be. I'm guessing there's going to be a hung jury and that they're going to have to throw it out. That's going to be my guess. That's how they're going to play this game. That it's a hung jury. So and then the media will just eat it up. Unknown says I only saw the first purge. I've never seen any of them. I just know the storyline. And Bakari says, look left, right, same bird, America, unite against these corrupt politicians left and right. I wish it was that easy. But I want to leave you with something hilarious here. This is a California article, a local article. You may not have heard this. NBC News. Serial slingshot shooter arrested in California. Okay. Southern California man who police describe as the serial slingshot shooter arrested after allegedly victimizing his neighbors for a decade. After responding to a quality of life issue on the 900 block of North Enid Avenue, Enid means 9, that over the course of the last 9 to 10 years, dozens of citizens were being victimized by a serial slingshot shooter. The suspect, Prince King, broke windows. His name is Prince King. Broke windows and windshield with his weapon and at times almost hit people, police say. Inmate records indicate that King is 81 years old. They did not list an attorney who could comment on his behalf. So for 10 years, Prince King has been terrorizing his neighbors by smashing windows, hitting people with, they say almost injured, but yeah, he's hit people with those slingshots. Come on. Smashing out car windows, breaking things with a slingshot from his house, from his yard, because it says that further down in the article. They searched his home. They found ball bearings and slingshots, and that he's been firing them out of his yard into the nearby neighborhood. So he's been terrorizing his neighborhood for a decade, and they just now caught him, and he's 81 years old. I'm sorry, that's funny. Isn't that what Larry the Cable Guy used to say? I don't care who you are, that's funny. That is funny. That's in the realm of stupidity, and it took him a decade to find this guy. Dragon says sickness and evil behavior has no age limit. Apparently not. Apparently not. That is dirty. That is dirty for him to do that. And Fluke Man says California is going to ban slingshots in the firearm category now. Yeah, probably. It took him that long to figure out this guy was doing it. Come on now. Anyways, with that, we are at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and start signing off. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion on YouTube Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Coffee Talk Chat. And you can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. Please do check Coffee Talk for new videos. I put 2 up this week. Don't know if you're getting notifications or not. And I'm probably going to have another one up on Prepper University tomorrow. So with that, I will go ahead and sign off. Thank you to everyone who was able to join us here today. As always, I hope you got something out of the conversation.